Ground beneath us trembling violently, sending guests scrambling for safety. I watched in horror as my sister was thrown to the ground, her screams drowned out by the deafening roar of the earth. As the chaos unfolded around us, you all remembered I represented my sister on her traditional marriage day just because she was out of the country, only that it was in my dream. Catch up on that gist with the link above. I remember asking if that was a dream or a message. Now, here is the aftermath of that dream. As I finished narrating the dream to my sister, her face turned pale with disbelief. God forbid, not my Dubem. This Dubem is my speck, she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Her words sent a chill down my spine as I remembered hearing that same phrase in my dream. She said, I am her speck. So this is looking more realistic to me, but not to my sister. Despite my sister's initial shock, she quickly brushed off the dream, chalking it up to mere coincidence. Joseph the dreamer, she teased me, laughing off my concerns as nothing more than superstitions. Despite my best effort to warn her, my sister remained undeterred in her plans. She continued her relationship with Dubem, oblivious to the ominous warning that had been delivered in my dream. As the days passed, my sister's relationship with Dubem grew stronger, and before long, they were making plans for their future together. Despite my lingering unease, I couldn't help but hope that maybe, just maybe, my dream had been nothing more than a figment of my own imagination. But as the wedding day approached, my fears began to resurface with a vengeance. I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that hung over me like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over what should have been a joyous occasion. As my sister and Dubem stood at the altar, exchanging vows of love and commitment, I couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding wash over me. Something wasn't right. I could feel it in the air. Suddenly, a strange chill swept through the room, sending shivers down my spine. The atmosphere grew tense, as if the very air itself was holding its breath in anticipation. And then, just as in my dream, the room was filled with a series of inexplicable events, the lights flickering ominously, casting eerie shadows across the room. The air grew thick with tension, as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to unravel. But before I could react, chaos erupted. The ground beneath us trembling violently, sending guests scrambling for safety. I watched in horror as my sister was thrown to the ground, her screams drowned out by the deafening roar of the earth. As the chaos unfolded around us, I felt a sense of helplessness wash over me. I tried to reach out to my sister to protect her from whatever unseen force was threatening to tear her world apart. But before I could reach out to her, everything went dark. When I finally regained consciousness, I found myself lying amidst the rubble of what was once a beautiful wedding ceremony. My ears rang with the deafening silence, as if the world itself had been muted by the devastation. As I stumbled to my feet, I realized with horror that something was terribly wrong. My sister lay motionless on the ground beside me, her once bright eyes now empty and lifeless. In that moment, I knew that my worst fear had come true. My sister had been harmed, not physically though, but in a way far worse than any physical injury could ever be. As I knelt beside her, tears streaming down my face, I vowed to never stop fighting for her, no matter what it took. I will find a way to bring her back from the darkness that threatened to consume her. And as I looked up to the sky, a single thought echoed in my head. This was just the beginning, and I couldn't see Dubem anywhere. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. But my sister remained trapped in a world of darkness and silence. Despite countless visits to doctors and specialists, no one could explain what had happened to her or happened to us on that supposed wedding day. I watched helplessly as my sister withdrew into herself, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the weight of her newfound disability. It broke my heart to see her like this, but I refused to give up on her. As the days passed, I devoted myself to finding a way to help my sister. I searched the internet for answers, seeking out any glimmer of hope that could lead to her recovery. But no matter how hard I searched, the answers eluded me. It seemed as if my sister's condition was beyond the reach of modern medicines, leaving us both feeling hopeless and alone. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a glimmer of light appeared on the horizon. A renowned healer from a distant village reached out to us, claiming to have the ability to cure my sister's affliction. Desperate for any chance of salvation, I arranged for the healer to visit us, praying that this would finally be the answer we had been searching for. When the healer arrived, he wasted no time in getting to work. With a series of ancient rituals and mysterious incantations, he began the process of healing my sister's soul, hoping to free her from the darkness that consumed her. As I watched in awe, I could feel the weight of despair lifting from my shoulder, replaced by a glimmer of hope that had long been absent from my life. But just as quickly as it had begun, the ritual was interrupted by a dark presence that swept through the room like a malevolent shadow. The air grew thick with tension, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart by unseen forces. In that moment, I knew that we were not alone. Whatever had harmed my sister on her wedding day was still lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike once more. With a sinking feeling in my heart, I realized that our journey was far from over, but no matter what lay ahead, I vowed to never stop fighting for my sister's salvation. For as long as there was breath in my body, I would do whatever it took to bring her back from the darkness that threatened to consume her. And as the healer continued his work, I whispered a silent prayer to the heavens, begging for the strength to see us through the trials that lay ahead. For in the face of darkness, there is always light, and with hope in our hearts, we will face whatever challenges that comes our way, together as a family. As the healer continued this ritual, a sense of anticipation filled the air. My heart raced with hope as I watched him work, praying silently for my sister's liberation from the darkness that had ensnared her. With each incantation and gesture, I could feel the oppressive atmosphere in the room begin to lift, as if a weight had been lifted from my chest. But just as the ritual reached its climax, a sudden gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging us into darkness once more. The air crackled with electricity, and I could sense a malevolent presence lurking in the shadow. With a sinking feeling in my heart, I knew that whatever dark force had haunted my sister before was still very much at work. But in that moment of darkness, a voice echoed through the silence, cutting through the chaos like a beacon of light. It was Dubem, my sister's husband. His voice filled with determination and love. With a strength born of desperation, Dubem stepped forward, his hands reaching out to grasp mine in a gesture of solidarity. Together, we faced the darkness head on, refusing to let it claim my sister's soul. With a newfound sense of purpose, we fought back against the darkness, channeling all our love and determination into breaking its hold on my sister's spirit. And as we stood united against the force of evil, a miracle occurred. In a blinding flash of light, my sister's eyes fluttered open, her gaze clear and focused once more. With a cry of joy, I threw my arms around her, overcome with relief and gratitude. But our celebration was short-lived, for we knew that the battle was far from over. It wasn't Dubem after all. It was a force behind Dubem that doesn't want him to be married. But the love of Dubem for my sister helped in saving her. The dream might have been a twist on her husband, but in reality, it is a force that is following Dubem, my sister's husband. The darkness still lurks in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike once more. And so, with renewed determination, we vow to remain vigilant, to never let our guard down against the forces of evil. For in the face of darkness, there is always light. And as long as we stood together, we knew that we could overcome any challenge that come our way. As we left the room that day, hand in hand, I knew that our journey was far from over, but with love in our hearts and hope in our soul, we were ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. The moral of this story is that love and unity had the power to conquer even the darkest of forces. And pay very good attention to your dreams. When we stand together, we can overcome any challenge that life throws our way. And no matter how bleak the situation may seem, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy our video, please subscribe to the channel and don't forget to share this story with your family and your friends. Till we see you again in our next story. Goodbye.